All right, welcome back. Going to do something a little bit different today, and that's talk about building your model kit stash. When you get into this hobby, uh, I, along probably with everyone else, you don't intend to accumulate a lot of kits, but it just seems to happen. So I know other people have talked about this, but looking around at my little collection, I thought I'll throw my 2 cents in on the subject. And as you can guess, got a couple of things here to use as examples. So, without further ado, even though you're used to seeing me just from the forearms down to my hands, well, today you're stuck with the rest of me. um, so, you know, there is a certain demographic for hobby people that you will probably encounter on YouTube. And I think that is a big part of the resurgence in the hobby. So my story, I think, with this is not much different than probably many other people, which is I built models when I was a kid. I dabbled a little bit in my younger adult life because kids, everything else, life intervenes, things that have greater importance at the time. And then get a little older, and now time starts to open up. Certainly, with COVID coming along, a lot of other activities went out the window. For me, that was particularly so because all my author activities came to a screeching halt. But, I had this to fall back on. And I was really, even before the COVID lockdown came in, I was starting to get back into the hobby a little bit more. And COVID just kind of put the pedal to the metal on that. So here I sit, along with the rest of the demographic, a guy in his 50s, needs to lose a few pounds, losing his hair, got some gray hairs. Hey, imagine that. All right, so before we get any further on this topic, I do want to say, as usual, thank you for watching the channel and stopping by, and please do consider to subscribe, like, share, all that good YouTube stuff, as I like to say. So, gonna take a little break, and then we're gonna talk about this a little bit more. Alrighty. All right, so here we have a stack of what I would consider your typical model kits. And when you first start with the hobby, or when you first come back to the hobby, these are probably the kinds of things that you will be building. Certainly their mainstream price approach makes them very appealing in terms of kits to try. You don't feel like there's a big risk of, making a mistake or something like that. And typically across manufacturers, with maybe just a few exceptions of kits with, really old molds, these things basically go together just fine. And out of the box, you'll have a pretty nice build for yourself. But because their price point is rather appealing, it's very easy to buy one after another. And certainly when you get back into it, I think of the purchasing experience of models. One is a flashback to youth, and two, there's a little bit of a psychological phenomenon going on. So, just my interpretations on these things. So, first of all, I remember when I was a kid, getting a model, it was a treat. I brought home a good report card or something like that, or I had saved up some allowance money. My dad would be like, "Oh, we're gonna go to the hobby store," and it was like, oh, it was exciting. Gonna go there. What's the kit gonna be that I may find that I want to bring home and build? And it was a little bit like Christmas morning. So certainly, you know getting back into the hobby, those fond memories, those happy memories, they come back, and I think that's a wonderful thing to hold on to your youthful enjoyment. But too, there's also because of that association, there's a powerful reward complex in your brain. So I'm sure as people like me, we put our hands on one of these boxes, there's a nice little dopamine response in your brain to say, yay, today's a good day, I got a treat, and there you go. So in those two perspectives, yes, I look at it as when you get back into the hobby, or as I said, you're starting the hobby new, once you build a kit or two, or you refresh yourself by building a kit or two to what you can do, it becomes very tempting to start gobbling things up, because you're like, oh, I could build this, I can build that, and isn't that neat? Or maybe it's a kit you remember building when you were young, and now it's out again. But you start to buy the kits, um, always thinking that, wow, it's going to be fun building these, and it's going to be great to experience that. And of course, being older like myself, possibly, there's a little more pocket change going around, so it's an easy pill to swallow in terms of cost. So I would call that part one. All right, so I talked about part one of building up kits, which are these more routine kits, and part two is going for things that are a little bit different. Now, I have this kit here. I bought this actually a little while ago, but the reason why I took this one in particular out, twofold. One, I built this when I was a kid growing up, and had it for years. It basically started to fall apart. It fell off my cabinet, and that was basically the end of it. So off it went to the garbage, and goodbye. And this was a kit I remember building as a kid that just blew me away. It's awesome experience. And I just figured I would never see this thing again. And then AMT reissued it. So when you see things like this, and now you've already been accumulating a little bit of a collection, one of the things you learn is that these kits, like anything else, books, CDs, whatever the case may be, there's a limited run. And once they're gone, they're gone. And you're not going to see them again unless you happen to come across something on eBay, or the manufacturer, whichever one, model company, decides to reissue the kit. So when you see things like this that are a little unusual, probably going to be very popular, buy them while they're available. So that's what I did with this. And this is another way you can find that your stash starts to grow. So can't wait to build this one. I have a few kits like this that I bought strictly with the thought of, I'm not sure where I'm going to build it or when I'm going to get to build it, but sorry, my dog is here. I think she's waiting to eat. But wanted to make sure I had it so that when I wanted to build it, it was on my shelf, and it wasn't something that I would have to go digging around, because now it's sold out. The manufacturer run is over, and I'm out of luck. So that's chapter 2 of this. All right, so part 3 of this is you'll start to find kits that are really neat and you haven't seen before, from companies you haven't heard of, and you just got to have them. So that was the case with this one. I had not heard of Thunder Models. I saw the kit at one of my local hobby stores, did a little research, and I was like, you know what? This is really something nice. This is an incredibly detailed kit. Didn't know when I would see this again, if I would see it again, or if I would remember to look for it again, whether it's online or locally, whatever the case may be. So I went back and I picked it up. And again, this is something I'm not sure when I'll get to build it, but when I'm ready for it, I have it. And again, another transition in the collecting of kits, from the routine to the not so routine to the more unique subject matter. Let's put it that way. So I never heard of this truck before, this British Pioneer truck. 6-wheel drive. You know, this kit has semi-functional suspension and whatnot. It is incredibly detailed, but to the point of my collecting from the, as I said, the routine to the not so routine, and now to I guess you could say the more eccentric maybe, or less experienced, less available kits. So this you're not going to find in Hobby Lobby on sale or something like that. You're going to have to go to a local hobby stop or know to look for something like this on a website if you do not have a local hobby shop. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to find this in my hobby shop. Otherwise, I would not have known about this company or to even have the awareness that this kit existed. So again, I bought it with the thought of who knows how long this kit is going to be out, how big the manufacturing run is, but you know, I would have been somewhat disappointed if at a later date I decided I wanted to do it and now it's unavailable. So I'm going to take a quick break and we'll be back with the 4th chapter of this. Okay, so next thing that's going to start coming up on when you start building your collection. I bought this one off eBay. This is an old kit. This goes back, I believe, I did a video on this one about purchasing off eBay, but I believe this kit was manufactured, I think, in 1976. So I was only a couple of years old, but certainly a telltale of its age. The kit was $2.38. Yeah, times have changed. But I look at this as, you know, another stage of being more discerning or more discriminating as to what you're looking for when you start to say, you know, I wonder about old kits that maybe you remember when you were little. Like I remember kits like this when I was growing up, and you know, I out of curiosity started looking on eBay to see if they had old things like this that you could buy still wrapped, untouched, you know, not half built and botched up that you'd have to repair. But I got this basically, as you can see from the reflection, in a shrink wrap, untouched. And, you know, it's another phase of acquiring things. As if you watched the episode where I talked about buying on eBay, I wasn't particularly thrilled with the eBay experience in buying some kits, but regardless of that fact, this is certainly something that you may find yourself adventuring into. So that's that. I'll be back with the conclusion. All right. Okay, so that's it. So what's the conclusion to draw from all of that? Well, I would say this. You know, I have, and it's too many to pile up, but I have about 60 kits I've collected to build. And again, I've gone through these phases of, you know, being really excited to say to myself, I'm going to be back in the hobby and buying like those routine kits, to the second part of buying the less common kits, like the big truck, to, you know, finding different kits from different manufacturers, such as the Thunder Models truck, and then even trying with, you know, looking into something from eBay, you know, a totally different purchasing experience. So where does that leave it? Well, you know, my purchase curve went up and then rapidly dropped off, although my wife may differ. But, you know, I look at it as you want to have a variety of different things to build. So, and, you know, sometimes when I finish one build video, I even hint that, you know, oh, I have this in mind or I have that in mind. And when I finish a build, I like to look around it because I have them around me here. You know, usually I have the camera over my shoulder looking this way, and you just see the Gundam models that I've built, but I have my regular kits, And there goes my dog knocking over stuff in the basement. But I have the regular kits around me here. So I have the advantage of being able to sit and look around, and whatever grabs my attention, that's what I build. I don't have to go run into a hobby store or thinking about what I'm going to buy. I already have my goodies. So, of course, there is a space concern, and it is an investment, but I always consider the time per dollar you spend a very good return on these kits. I feel the same way about books. Music, certainly, for what you purchase the kit, you have hours and hours of enjoyment that you have allotted for yourself. So, enjoy your hobby. When you see things that you're interested in, think about what you want to do. Certainly for some people it may be more interesting to buy as they build, one for one. But I think this is, again, providing circumstances work for you, this is a pretty nice way to go about things. And don't be surprised if it happens to you too, because it just seems to be the nature of the hobby. I am a little surprised as to what I've collected, but at the same time, when I see some other people who are way deep in the hobby and the mountains of stuff that they've accumulated, I'm just fine with what I have. And I will also say I only have one copy of each kit. I'm not one of the people who has 5 copies of the same thing. So personal preference, that doesn't appeal to me. So that's it. So those are my 2 cents on that subject. Now I'm going to get back to building. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your hobby, and I'll be back with another regular build video. Alrighty. Thank you.